In this video, I'm going to be describing the ultimate guide to insurance sales cold calling, whether you're doing this in person or over the phone. If you're looking to learn how to prospect successfully cold and you're looking for scripts, guidance, and direction, then this video is absolutely for you. Greetings and salutations. My name is David Duford. I own DeFord Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell final expense Medicare, annuities, and ACA health insurance. If you'd like to learn more about how all that works, simply head over to davidduford.com/FAQ to learn more. So the reason I'm putting this video together is to help those of you out there interested in cold calling in the insurance sales space, how to set up a process, a strategy, as well as a script that actually gets results. So first thing we're gonna do is talk about some preliminary elements that are pretty important to get going when it comes to cold calling. And then we're gonna spend the other half of this video talking about the actual script that I recommend that gets you into doors and gets you into presentations. Number one, decide on a product and an interested market. So first of all, make sure when you think about cold calling, you actually have the market, or you have more specifically the product in mind that you actually want to pitch. One of the worst things you can do with cold calling is pitch in a generalized fashion. For example, hey, my name is David Duford. I'm a life insurance agent that can help you with life insurance. The problem with that is it's too unspecific. What kind of life insurance is it? Who are you actually calling? Why should the other person on the other end of the line or on the other end of the door knock actually care about what you have to say? So take some time to actually think about what kind of product and what kind of market you want to represent and sell. For example, if I was prospecting for final expense cold, then I would make sure my script would say something about final expense burial insurance, not just life insurance. And I would also make sure to target people most likely to buy it. Again, the right market. I wouldn't go to final expense route and then prospect millionaires, right? Just doesn't make sense. So make sure that you pick the right type of product, or you decide on one kind of product to lead with, and you make sure that product matches the market that you actually want to target. Number two, set calling and prospecting goals. So exactly how many prospecting calls should you make? What should your goals be? So I'm going to give you some general goals and then give you some specifics. So first of all, as a general goal, you should be cold calling all day. You shouldn't have necessarily preconceived notions of, well, how many hours should I cold call, or how many hours should I pick up the phone and dial? Who knows? It just depends. You might go into a cold canvas in a business and be there for an hour and have a great opportunity and do that 3 times in a row. You might only do 5 cold calls, but if your goals was 100, is that a failure? No, of course not, because you got good presentations and you got some action going. So the better mindset to have, and this is what's critical, is that your job as an insurance agent, cold calling, is to be cold calling from sunrise to sunset. You should be thinking about seeing the people and cold calling to see the people, and doing nothing short of getting that accomplished to the maximal capabilities as possible. If you have appointments that come up, great, run them. But don't let that deter you. Don't go take the 2-hour lunch, or go watch the movie, or go watch your kids, or pick them up early from school. Those are distractions that get in the way of accomplishing your goals. Keep your goals in focus, and that is repeating the process of cold calling as much as humanly possible a day. So now for some specific goals. So the main thing I want you to be focusing on here, if we're looking for specific guidance, is activity goals. Again, these are goals to strive for as first steps. You might actually dial these goals up daily, depending on your activity level and whatever it is that you're selling. If I'm prospecting cold in person, my goal for my agents, or for you, would be 30 cold door knocks a day. You should be able to knock on 30 doors a day to result in some kind of sales activity on a pretty consistent basis. If you're cold calling over the phone, I recommend 100 dials minimum a day. Maybe more than that, usually isn't going to be less, but 100 dials a day should give you all sorts of activity opportunity. Number 3, buy a list or just call. So a lot of agents will ask me, so should I buy a list, or should I really take some time to really develop a list to call on when it comes to cold calling? Well, I think you should segment your market to some extent based off of your product. For example, if I'm selling Medicare, I definitely want to be talking to people who are 65 and older, because there's not a lot of people under 65 that actually have Medicare. So it makes more sense to target those people 65 and older. If I'm selling life insurance, and it's mortgage protection. I'm going to go get a list of new home buyers and door knock those. So there should be some extent that you do some kind of targeting. I wouldn't randomly go out there and knock on doors without any idea of who it is that I'm targeting. So I think investing in some kind of list with these kind of parameters or ability to refine the parameters is a good idea. We have used in the past or recommended in the past infofree.com. It's not actually free. Got to pay a little bit of money. But that is a good data source to get the aforementioned kind of data that we talked about so that you have somewhat of a refined list to do and work with. So now let's talk about the cold calling script. So the breakdown of the script is based on the following 4 parameters. Number 1, the introduction. Number 2, the reason why you're calling. Number 3, the selling of the appointment. And then number 4, the close. So let's talk about each of these in general, because your job is to put together a script based off of the basis of what we're describing, because of course everybody's selling different products and has different markets, so you're going to have to use your brain a little bit and come up with a script, and as long as it adheres to the foundational fundamental setup as we've just described, it should be just fine. So the first step is the introduction. Actually pretty simple. So all it is saying the prospect's name and then going into your name, first and last name. So it sounds something like this. Hey, Mrs. Jones, my name is David Duford. I don't like to say in most cases the name of the company I'm associated with because I don't want to give it away too soon that I'm an insurance agent. Some people's brains shut down and they feel like they're getting pressured or sold and they won't listen to you. So I just introduce myself, first name and last name. The reason why you're calling too, it's pretty simple. You're just telling them why you're dropping in and what you're looking to accomplish. So it should sound something like this. Hey, Mrs. Jones, my name is David Duford, and the reason I'm here is because these cards were sent off to you a couple weeks ago about our new state-regulated final expense programs. And the reason I'm talking today is they send me out to stop by to people's homes who don't fill out these cards to share with them how this information works. So off script, what I did there as a final expense agent was craft a script that explains why I was there. We talked about in this example, a card that was sent out and why they send me out to talk to people who don't send those back. And the reason I did that, in case you're curious, is because a lot of people that we send these direct mail postcards to develop leads don't actually send them in, but they see them a lot. And we're kind of tapping in on that intelligence, that awareness, and basically giving them a reason why we stop by, which is, hey, our job's just to talk to people, didn't send these back. So we kind of develop a reason why you're there, but this may vary a lot by the type of product that you're selling. For example, if I was doing something in the Medicare space, I might say, hey, my name is David Duford. I'm stopping by because I help seniors with their Medicare needs. A lot of people that we talk to turning 65 are confused, frustrated with Medicare. And the reason I'm here is that it's my job to show you how things work. They send me out to talk to you about the different options that are out there. So I'm kind of going into selling the appointment a little bit, but I'm describing what I'm doing based off of the product and the knowledge of the market that I have. So you've got to take some time to develop a script. A couple of things that are useful. You can always mention other people that you've talked to. Hey, I was talking to Mrs. Jones down the street and I figured I'd stop by. I help people with Medicare. Maybe you're talking with a business owner. Hey, my name's David Duford. I was actually just around the corner at the nail salon next door talking about these new life insurance programs that they're doing and we're looking at, and I figured I'd stop in and talk to you about it. So there's different ways to do this, but you want to tell them why you're there. You want to explain to them what it is that you do in a succinct fashion. The next thing you got to do is actually sell the appointment. So when you sell the appointment, what you're really speaking to is the fear or the concern that somebody's going to be sold and should they spend time with you, whether you're calling them over the phone cold or seeing them in person. You got to sell against this fear of who you are and what's going to happen. So basically, no matter what it is that you're selling, the selling of the appointment's all the same. Hey, it's my job to deliver this information. What you do with it's up to you. It just takes 5 minutes to look it over. That kind of language we just used there lowers the fear level of the client. We're just delivering information. What you do with it's up to you. There's no obligation. All I need is a few minutes to show you how it works. Again, it's a minimal amount of time. We'll be on our way very quickly. Again, these are the fears we're trying to address that the client is starting to demonstrate to hopefully sell that this quick and casual meeting is no big deal. And of course, the last step is to close. And the way that we close depends if you're calling over the phone or in person. If I'm calling over the phone, generally speaking, I'm going to ask for options of 2 different times. Can I come by at 10 o'clock or 2? If I'm in person, I'm going to ask, you want to sit over there at the table? Should I come back to your office? Or do you want to sit out on the porch, or should I come in? So we're going to give 2 options for a yes in both cases, and we're going to eliminate any options for a no, because we don't want to give our clients an option to say no, and they're more likely to say no if we do give them that option. So we just give them 2 choices to answer yes to and assume that we're going to come in. So all together, it'll sound something like this. Hey, Mrs. Jones, my name is David Duford, and the reason I'm here is because we had sent back these cards a couple of weeks ago describing these new state-regulated final expense programs designed to take care of cremation and funeral expenses. And I'm here because they send me out to talk to people who don't send these cards back to explain briefly how it works. All it takes is 5 minutes for me to do my job to show you this, and then I'll be out of your hair. You want to sit out on the porch, or should I come in to explain them? Of course, even with a perfect performance of the opening script on a cold call, you're going to get pushback and objections. So what we're going to spend some time doing now is giving you a simple process to rebut the most common objections you're going to hear on an insurance sales cold call. So I use the methodology of what's called the ASK method. It's pretty simple. A means answer the objection, S means sell the appointment, and C means close. Again, the theory here that we run on when hearing objections is that the words said by the prospect aren't necessarily true. What is underlying that smokescreen, if you will, is just a fear or a concern that you're about to sell them, or they may be put in an uncomfortable situation. So a lot of the times when people say things like, I'm busy, I'm not interested, I've already got life insurance, I'm broke, they're not true statements. They could be, but many times they're not. And what they are is cover for the underlying fear that they really have a hard time verbalizing on the spot. So the way that we answer those is pretty simple. Pretty much every objection, we're going to say the same thing, and it sounds like this. That's fine. All I need is 5 minutes to do my job and show you this information. Whatever you decide to do with it's up to you, Mrs. Jones. Why don't we sit out here in the porch, or should I come in? And it's just as easy as that. Now, sometimes it takes a couple of back and forths. You have to be insistent. You have to kind of maintain the alpha frame, if you will, that it's just your job to deliver this information. There's no big deal with what it is. They can do with it with what they want with it. And so you got to keep that kind of perspective and mindset. But what you'll find is sometimes it takes 1 or 2 rebuts, but you'll get in the door and then you'll be able to do your presentation. So guys, that's it. That's how I'd recommend, if you're interested in cold calling for insurance sales, to go out there. Utilize the foundational script that I gave you. Make sure you set up the business like we described earlier, so you have a clear intent on what kind of product and market you want to target, and that you have a strategy in place. It is grunt work, it's sweat equity cold calling, but if you do enough activity with the right market and the right script, you're going to find that you're going to get pretty good results if you can keep your activity high. If you're interested in learning more about joining DeFord Insurance Group to sell final expense Medicare annuities or ACA, head on over to daviddeford.com/FAQ. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.